Today's episode is brought to you by SeatGeek, the presenting sponsor of the Bill Simmons podcast and Channel 33. If you enter promo code BS and buy Super Bowl tickets on SeatGeek, they'll send you $100 on your purchase. Don't be fooled by other sites that tack on hundreds or even thousands of dollars in fees on Super Bowl tickets. SeatGeek's prices are lower than any other site, and SeatGeek will always show you the full price up front with no hidden fees. To get $100 off your Super Bowl ticket purchase, download the free SeatGeek app and enter promo code BS. Today's BS podcast is also brought to you by MeUndies. With Valentine's Day coming up, don't get your significant other chocolate or flowers, because that's boring. Get them the world's most comfortable underwear. That's right, MeUndies. They have a February limited edition underwear design from legendary artist Keith Haring. This retro design is inspired by love, making it the perfect Valentine's Day gift. Order before February 4th in the U.S. to make sure your pair arrives in time for Valentine's Day. Head to MeUndies.com/BS right now. You get free shipping and 20% off your first order. Let's go. Oh boy, it's snowing on the East Coast. Unfortunately, it's not snowing dollar bills. It's snowing snow.
Oh.
For Joe House. How many inches are you getting there in Washington?
None yet. It's coming though.
I was there last year when it snowed, and you guys got like 5 inches, and the whole city shut down, and it was like you got hit by a tsunami. It was amazing. I've never seen a city less prepared for snow.
It worked out great. We ended up having a really easy time getting to dinner. We could make reservations, no problem, downtown. That worked out nice. This one's going to shut the whole joint down. I mean, they're calling for 20 to 30, and the last time we had anything of that order of magnitude, everything was shut down for a week.
I'm worried about Kornheiser. I don't know if he can handle the snow and the cold.
The big concern is power. If we lose power, we're all F. Now, Tony, I'm sure, he's a fancy pants. He probably already made a reservation at a hotel somewhere and probably has a way for somebody to get him into that hotel.
Yeah.
I'm just a regular dude, so I tried to do that my own self. I'm trying to be a little forward thinking here because I'm not going to let it be Sunday, mid-afternoon and not have a way to watch the football games.
Right.
But everything's all booked up, and, I have no way of getting to anywhere other than by foot. So,
well, President Obama, if you're listening, invite Joe House over to the White House to watch the football games with you. He doesn't have a place to go. Hey, snow and cold weather and ice and all this stuff, it really feels like it could play a factor in this Carolina Arizona game, right?
Carolina's right in the bullseye. They're going to get it. Obviously, they're probably getting it right now, the start of it, and it's supposed to last, 24 to 36 hours. So by the time the game rolls around, all of the precipitation will be done, but it's still going to be cold, and there's going to be, 500 tons of snow at the joint down there.
All right, hold on. I want to talk about that game. Wanted to mention we have a couple guests coming up after House. Mike Shore, who's on Andy Greenwald's podcast on Channel 33. I actually just grabbed him after he was done with the Andy podcast and made him talk about the Pats for a few minutes because he's a diehard Pats fan like myself. And then we had a podcast earlier in the week with Wesley Morris where we carved out a whole section about Rajon Rondo and Bill Kennedy and that whole thing, and about Odell Beckham and the Panthers. And I thought it was interesting enough to take out of the podcast because it was so long anyway. So we're putting that on at the end of this. But right now we're going to do football picks because that's what we do every week. I'm 5-3 in the playoffs. What are you?
4-4.
I should be 6-2. Oh no,
I should be 5-3.
I should be 5-2-1 because Arizona screwed me over by being completely ill-prepared to stop a Hail Mary pass after the guy had already thrown a Hail Mary pass in the same drive. And
how is it possible?
How is it possible when it was the exact same play? He threw the exact same spot he threw in the Detroit game. I mean, it was an amazing play, and I respect the blitz and the whole thing, but at least know that on that play, he aims toward a specific spot and be ready for it.
But wait. Why do you respect the blitz? Aaron Rodgers has demonstrated through the entirety of his career that he has a certain elusive ability. He can get away from the blitz.
That's Bruce Arians.
He needs very little time and space to launch the ball 70 yards in the air and 80 yards down the field. Now, he didn't have to do that on Saturday because they got all the way to midfield from the miracle play on the goal line, the first Hail Mary.
4th and 20.
Yeah, but once they got to the 50, it was like, oh God! I mean, the second Hail Mary is definitely in play. That's a flick of the wrist for him.
What a terrible gambling loss if you had Arizona. I had them on a tease, so I didn't actually lose money, but it hurt my feelings because
I came very close to tweeting out like, "This is why you can." I would hate myself so much if I bet on this. Never bet on football. It was going to be my tweet, but I was like, that's kind of bad for business. And then definitely bet on football.
And then Sal and I bet on we had a whole thing, and that we had a great weekend and decided to throw some of the profits on Pittsburgh, who should have just outright won the game. And then all of a sudden it became a push. And I still don't know how it happened. I thought they're going to win the game outright, and we didn't even win money on it. So whatever.
So you guys didn't do the money line. You did a spread bet. I got it. It ended up being a push.
It was a weird weekend. I think I've picked every. I guess I didn't pick the winner for Pittsburgh, but anyway, I feel like I have a nice handle of this, and I'm excited for this weekend because I think I know who the Super Bowl teams are. So let's talk about, even though it's the later game, let's talk about Carolina and Arizona first. Carolina is favored by 3 points at home. I'm going to make the case for Carolina, and you tell me if you agree or disagree. Carolina -3. Weather, I don't care if it's going to stop snowing at that point. The field's going to be probably a brick. It's going to have that cold post-blizzard feel to it. The field's going to be a mess. It was a mess last week. It's going to be even more of a mess this week. I look at this game, and for me, it feels like the worst case scenario for Arizona, a team that normally plays indoors, that succeeds with speed and the dome, all that stuff. They've won a game or two outside. I think they lost in Pittsburgh this year, but this feels like the worst case scenario for them.
I agree with this.
They want a nice field. They want good weather. They want their receivers running around doing stuff. And now this is like a kind of ground and pound Cam Newton game. And I don't trust Carson Palmer. How about that?
How about that? So let me I have only one weird stat for the entire analysis today, and it applies to this game. It's Arizona coming off of 3 straight home games, which, goes to your point of the comfort, whether it's sort of actual comfort or even just psychic comfort. Road underdogs, a horrid 0-11 against the spread when coming off of 3 straight home games. Ooh. If they won the last game. So that's a nice thank you, Big Al, for that that little angle. But it fits what you're describing. Plus Carson Palmer.
Yeah, he had some moments in that Packers game where you just thought, oh, this is Carson Palmer. I've watched this guy for the last 15 years. I mean, he had an outer body experience this year. He's great. I think he had like 34 TDs, 11 picks. But he also had a fleet of receivers. And then he had 3 different running backs who at various points of the season were more competent than any running back the Patriot had, including the rookie that has been going the last few weeks, David Johnson. But that's his name, right? David Johnson?
Yeah, David Johnson.
All these guys, they've had so many running backs, I can't even remember who's who. But Palmer, I thought, had some moments in that game, a little deer in the headlights-y.
I loved what Collinsworth
shaky around the red zone, right?
Collinsworth murdered him for that pick in the end zone.
It was terrible.
It was terrible.
So then,
indefensible. And what's crazy is I feel like not enough attention was paid to the grotesque mismanagement at the end of the game. That called pass play.
It was
where
awful.
He missed Fitzgerald by 25 yards. Maybe it wasn't that much.
Threw it out of bounds.
How can you call a pass? Have you not watched Carson Palmer this whole game? 1 out of every 3 throws is sailing on the dude.
Right. And then, so in overtime, they call an awesome play that I think Arians that they had two plays that they were just kind of holding in their hip pocket. One of them was the play that broke Fitzgerald for the 75-yard run or pass run or whatever it was.
Yeah.
An okay play by Palmer. He rolled out right, had to throw it across his body left. Fitzgerald was open by 25 yards and then ran another 60.
Yeah.
Can't totally give Palmer credit for that. And then the other play was just a great little, sneaky handoff pitch handoff to Fitzgerald. And that was it. Palmer didn't exactly drive him down. Now, he had a moment in the Seattle game on Sunday night on NBC when they fell behind. His line, Iupati, whatever his name is, he came out. The line fell apart. Remember, he got sacked in the fumble touchdown.
Yeah.
And it looked like he was. It looked like Carson Palmer was being Carson Palmer, and then he kind of rallied and got it going.
Yep. That was a nice comeback, a nice bit of poise out of him.
Yeah.
The stakes were entirely different. They weren't playoff stakes, and this is, we're still in a playoff. This will be the most important game he's ever played in his entire NFL career.
So there's some playoff manifesto rules in place here that make me feel good about Carolina too. One is like, if you pick the road team, you better think they're winning. And
agreed.
It's Arizona going west to east, outdoors, shitty weather. Carson Palmer, I don't feel great about it. So that's one. QBs, who are the QBs? Look at the QBs. I trust Cam. Cam's going to make plays. He's going to get stuff done. He's going to get first downs when they need them. I don't know if I 100% trust Carson Palmer. Where do you stand on that one?
MVP of the league, 16-1 Carolina Panthers. I trust Cam.
The momentum, where's the public, all that stuff. I think Carolina threw people off their scent because of how they sucked in the second half of that Seattle game. Pretty weird game. They played the best first half I think anyone's played in the history of football. Took their foot off the gas pedal at the end of the second quarter, which was stupid. They had a chance to get some more points at the end. They got super conservative. Seattle got the ball starting in the second half, scored a touchdown. Carolina has to punt. Seattle, another touchdown. Momentum, all that stuff. It was just weird. It wasn't and then their defense is on the field the whole second half. I don't look down on them for how that second half played out. Do you?
No, it didn't change my overall impression of Carolina and what they've done all season long. They've done that twice now. That Giants game was the same thing.
Right.
It to me is more an indication of how difficult it is to keep up the focus and the intensity and all the rest of it. You know, the teams, the talent on the teams, especially at this point of the season, is equal enough that it's pretty extraordinary for one team to just beat the crap out of another.
Yeah.
And I think, that the keeping that focus intensity for the entirety of a game, they weren't going to win 62-0. So I didn't really,
you didn't hold that
knock them down too much for that second half performance against Seattle.
All right. And also, just think about, you're betting on one of these teams. You're betting your life on this game. Do you feel more comfortable with Cam at home in like an ugly ground and pound bad weather game, or do you want to bet your life on Carson Palmer outdoors going west to east? Crappy weather. I was
off a upset with myself for having a fake bet on Carson Palmer at home last week.
Yeah, he is Carson Palmer.
He really is. He really reminded us.
He really reminded us that he's Carson Palmer.
He sure did.
Here's another one. It's a little stupid, but it's from the manifesto. I'm not saying this is as big of a factor as the QBs or the weather or the west to east or the outdoors, indoors, any of that stuff, but it's important. Arizona's special team sucks.
They stink.
They were in the DVOA, our friends at Football Outsiders, they keep track of this stuff. Arizona had the 30th special teams.
But Barnwell did a nice job early in the playoffs identifying all 8 teams in the tournament. The kryptonite and the kryptonite for the Cardinals was their punt defense.
Right.
They were among the worst teams in the league, maybe the worst team in the league against defending the punt.
Right. Well, and Carolina's got Ted Ginn Jr. That's what he does.
That what he does.
Me. So you have bad special teams on the road, cold weather against Ted Ginn Jr. I don't know. I just feel like something's going to happen there. And also the DVOA Carolina's 4th. Arizona's 10th overall. For weighted, Carolina was 5th and Arizona was 10th. I'm not sure why the line is 3. I gotta say, I don't understand it. I thought it was going to start at 3 and be there for most of the week, but I thought it would climb to Carolina 3.5.
I thought it was going to be Vegas zone 4-5 in that zone.
People don't totally trust Cam. And also the last thing, and this is also stupid, but not stupid. It feels like Cam's year to make the Super Bowl. The whole year has felt like that. It just feels very, it just feels right that he would be in there. And I'll tell you, if Denver is the other team in there, Carolina would kill Denver. So this is basically the Super Bowl for Carolina if Denver wins that first game.
Yeah, I mean, this is not going to be a surprise at this point. Being 500 on my playoff picks, not very impressive. I just pick the 2 best teams. Which 2 teams looked the best all season long? If you look at the entire body of work, New England had its stretch. Brady was the leading candidate for the MVP for a stretch of time. And then, Carolina had its impressive stretch, and they looked, unbeatable until they got beat. And Cam is now going to win the MVP of the league. So to me, it's just keep it simple.
And I don't think Arizona has a great defense. Obviously, they don't. It's fine.
Yeah,
it's okay. It's good. It's not great. It's above average.
Opportunistic.
But not the type of defense that's going to go in and hold Carolina to 7 points. The thing with Carolina. Tate just popped a boner, by the way. Sorry, this is awkward. Tate's a Carolina fan. This is really uncomfortable. But Carolina gets to 30 points every week.
Every week.
They just do it. You don't know how it's happening. You look at their guys. It's like, Jericho Cotchery on 3rd and 8. Like how are they getting these drives? But they get them. And I don't know. I like Carolina. I think they win by double digits. And my only fear. I really like this Arizona team. Like I think if they had the 1 seed, I might have picked them. But my only fear is I do think Arians is a good coach. I think he's a gambler. I think he keeps things in his back pocket for the perfect time. And then you look at how Carolina has gone soft in some of these second halves. That worries me a little. Carolina getting a lead and then letting Arizona hang around, and we've seen them play that type of game over and over again this year. So
and Arizona is a team where if Carolina gets up double digits, you're not looking and saying, "Oh, well, how's Arizona going to score?" They have the weapons; they can do it. It's just how much do you trust Carson Palmer is what it comes down to.
And I wonder if Arizona will come away from this season being like, "Damn, bad luck. Had to go to Carolina in a crappy weather weekend, and it's too bad. And we should have tried harder to get that 1 seed."
Well, I don't think they didn't try. I mean, Carolina was undefeated through 13 weeks.
Yeah, that's a good point. I take
Arizona
it back.
was pretty effing impressive.
Maybe Arizona says, damn, maybe we shouldn't have lost to Landry Jones. They lost one of those, right? They lost to Landry Jones.
That was a stinker. They went to Pittsburgh. Rams. They had 2 stinkers this year. It was Pittsburgh and then the last game against Seattle.
But they also lost to the Rams.
That wasn't a stinker, though. The Rams, at that point of the season, we're doing that typical Rams thing, kind of a formidable, stout defense, low scoring, ball control kind of stuff.
Well, Carolina didn't have stinkers. And it comes down to they didn't have as many stinkers as Arizona, and now they get to host this game, and it's going to be Cam time, and I think they win. And
Tate's going to be dabbing.
I think it's better if the Patriots advance. I think it's better for them to play Carolina than Arizona.
You're rooting for the Patriots to play Carolina if they beat Denver.
If the Patriots win, I'm going to root for Carolina, not just because I will have wagered on Carolina. I think I think Arizona in San Francisco with all their receivers, that scares me a little bit. It's just multiple receivers and just guys going Fitzgerald. I don't know. It scares me.
Huh.
Carolina, I feel like we could just take out Greg Olsen like we took out Kelsey.
The thing that's interesting about that, though, is you're preferring a quarterback that is very difficult to contain because of his double threat capacity.
I know, but he doesn't. For me, I don't feel like he runs as much as Russell Wilson does.
He hasn't been called on to do so, though.
Right. But
it could be,
nobody's. Belichick would figure out how to stop that team. Arizona.
That is the most New England analysis of all New England.
Well, listen, that's what the people are paying for.
Belichick. It's like the old Ditka skits. Ditka would find a way.
Denver, New England.
Yeah,
that's the early game. For some reason, which is weird. I don't know why they wouldn't have made it the late game. Fox must have won the coin flip or something.
Right.
Pat's favored by 3.5.
Oh, it's up to 3.5 now?
That's what I'm seeing.
I saw 3. Well, it doesn't change my analysis.
You love grabbing whatever weird line on whatever weird online site helps you with whatever pick you're making.
Guess what?
I saw 3 on stupidbets.com.
I'm not doing that. I'm not doing any of it. I'm just taking the Patriots.
Okay.
I know there's a bunch of historical bends to this, angles to this that support Denver. I know it's Peyton's last home game of his entire career. I don't care. The Patriots are the better team with a better body of work, and they appear to be healthy. I'm knocking on wood just because I want the game to be between two healthy teams. And I think the two best teams should play in the Super Bowl.
I'm seeing 3 on VegasInsider.com.
Yeah, stupidbets.com.
VegasInsider.com is a good one.
I know. Why are you making fun of me? I told you I saw 3.
All right, we got 3 for the Pats. That's fine. Pats by 3.
I just took the Pats. I'm taking the Pats. I'm moving off the Pats.
So you're just basically saying they're a really good team. I think they're better than Denver, and that's my analysis. Thanks for coming, Joe House.
Two best quarterbacks. I don't need an angle. The 2 best quarterbacks in the league all season have been Brady and Cam Newton. That's it.
Well, my analysis is going to stun you. I don't think the league wants the Patriots to win this game.
What?
Yeah, I don't.
Oh my God.
I don't.
Oh my God. Here we go again.
I think this is all setting up for the most catastrophic loss in recent Boston sports history. Ed Hockley, the Broncos are like 7-0 or 8-0.
No, I saw that tweet. Come on.
They're like 7-0, 8-0 when he refs. The Patriots have had a tortured, terrible history in Mile High, which, as you're going to hear from me and Mike Shore after, because we already taped it, but it's been a semi-house of horrors. It's the place of Rulon Jones and Champ Bailey and losing the AFC Championship game a couple years ago. Brady's, I think, 2-6 there. The 2 places that he's always had a lot of trouble are Denver and Miami. The last time we played there, we blew a game where they took out Gronk's knees and we thought his season was over. Brock Osweiler came in, had like the night of his life. He's going to be he'll own a sports bar in like 3 years, telling people I beat the Patriots on a Sunday night. Denver just wins garbage, lucky, stupid games over and over and over again. They've done it all season.
I love that you call this your analysis, by the way.
Thank you. This is what Denver does. They win stupid games where they get every single call, where 9 of the 11 breaks go for them, where the fumble that they fumble and it bounces straight up and goes to the tight end who runs an extra 5 yards with it, where the Manning interception gets dropped by the D-back or gets tipped and goes right to Demaryius Thomas. This team has the biggest horseshoe up their ass I've ever seen in my life.
It would have been nice of you to have disclosed for everybody consuming this that this was going to be the McSimmons. This is going to be the McSimmons analysis. I'm calling in from Sully's in Dorchester, and let me tell you that Denver they horse you up their ass. I'm telling you guys.
I don't know what that accent. It sounded like you were from the Bronx. And we're laying points on the road.
Yes.
And we haven't even mentioned the sheriff yet. The sheriff last week is under pressure, slides for a sack, decides to do a self sack.
It was a give up. It wasn't a it was a sack. It would have counted as a sack.
He slides. Nobody touches him. He stands up and completes a 35-yard pass, and everyone's fine with it.
In the judgment of the refs, that wasn't he didn't give himself up.
Tom Brady has an awesome game in the AFC title last year. They decide that the balls were intentionally deflated by Tom Brady, even though a phalanx of scientists have now come out and said, well, actually, the ideal gas law explains why balls deflate, and the Patriots probably kept on the low end. Phalanx, whatever the word is.
Yeah.
He's almost suspended for the first 4 games. We lose our first round pick. There's still no evidence that anything happened.
What about the text messages?
Text messages. What were the messages?
I could care less.
You really think the NFL wants a situation where Tom Brady, Bill Belichick, and Robert Kraft are on the podium with Roger Goodell?
God, what would be better than that?
Yeah, exactly. That's why we're not seeing it.
That's fine. I don't have any problem at all with all the conspiracy theorizing and
this is
all
WWE.
Of the karma.
This is like might as well the Pats are going into the Royal Rumble and they have to put the title up against 29 other wrestlers because Vince McMahon said so. That's this game.
I know exactly what you're doing, and I don't begrudge you doing it.
What am I doing? I think Denver's going to win.
I know. You have to convince yourself of this.
Denver's going to win the game, and I'm going to be really mad. I'm probably going to break my TV because
this is you're psychologically and emotionally prepared for all of the mistreatment and the misjudgments that are going to befall your team.
It's the manifestation of a year-long smear campaign conspiracy is going to play out with the fucking sheriff killing us with his little bloopers and Phil Simms talking about how great his audibles were and Peyton Manning. Oh my God, what an audible. The Patriots had 9 guys on the line and he audible to a pass. All hail Peyton Manning.
McSimmons from Sully's, you make a lot of great points here.
Oh, Peyton Manning, just the know-how to throw that pass that took 7 seconds in the air before it hit Demaryius Thomas, who was waiting for so long that he got hit by 17 defensive backs at the same time and is now being wheeled off the field. But a great look by Peyton Manning. Great play. I can't take it. I know this is going to be the worst day of my life. I know it. Or one of the top 100. I know it. I know this is going to be a terrible day. I'm already mad about it. It's going to be terrible.
I'm just hoping that I have the power here in Washington, D.C. to be able to watch the game.
And my dad's here. And we're just going to be staring at each other going, I can't believe we're losing this game.
Oh, my gosh.
I can't believe it. How are we losing this game? Peyton Manning cannot throw the ball faster than 20 miles an hour. He can't move. How are we losing?
Like I said, I don't begrudge you doing this.
By the way, I'm picking the Pats. I just had to get all that out of my system. I'm laying the 3. Yeah, I wanted to hear how all of it sounded. Yeah, we have a much better team. How do we not beat this Denver team?
Yeah, I mean that's right. Denver, I still can't believe that Denver beat Pittsburgh. I watched the whole game through 3 all the way up until.
I can't believe it. Pittsburgh can't believe it. Nobody can believe it. I watched the whole game. How did Pittsburgh lose?
How did Pittsburgh lose? That's exactly right.
Well, that's the thing. So I'm taking the Pats. I think they're much better. Can I say much better?
I think they're much better as well.
And yet I'm terrified because this is what Denver has done all season is they have somehow made up gaps and made up leads and gotten drives and gotten fumbles at the perfect time and gotten special teams plays and they've just kind of pulled out games.
The running game has come alive over the last 5 or 6 games. All to their credit, the number 1 seed in the AFC.
Right.
Starting with a very, very stout defense.
Very good defense. I don't think it's a great defense, though. I think you can move the ball on it. I thought Pittsburgh, Roethlisberger missed a wide open 50-yard touchdown on the first drive.
The saddest thing in the world is that we didn't get to see Antonio Brown on Sunday.
Yeah, is there any way Denver wins that game if Antonio Brown plays? From what you saw,
you can't come up with the scenario. You can't come up with it.
And here's the other thing with the Pats, and I said this last week when we broke down. We picked the KC score exactly, which was kind of amazing.
Congratulations! For once, we were right.
The Pats are going to get to 27 points because they have everybody. If Edelman, Amendola, Gronk, and Brady play all 4 quarters of this game, they're going to end up at 27 points. So my question is, can Denver get to 28? What needs to happen?
This is fun. Let's try and do this again exactly.
They need a special teams touchdown.
I think Denver is going to have 5 field goals and a touchdown. That's my forecast. So 15 plus 7, or maybe they go for 2 and make it 8. They're either going to score 22 or 23 points. That's my call.
And if Denver, anytime they have like a 3rd and 9, 3rd and 10, 3rd and 11, 3rd and 12, that's bad for them.
You mean because their quarterback can't throw down the field direct in a straight line 20 yards?
I will say not to defend Peyton Manning because Sims and Nance drove me to the point of insanity last week with the praising of him. And Jim, he told us he hasn't felt this good in a year and a half. And then he comes out, he looks exactly the same as he did for the last 2 years. Exactly.
All short passes and outs.
Yeah.
He made one great throw to the tight end, Benny, whatever his last name is.
Was that the one after he took the sack, then they didn't call it and he stood up?
No, that one, he gets credit for that being the longest pass completion of the game because the defense stopped. So congratulations. But the game decider was that throw to the tight end that he hit in a really tight spot. That was a great throw.
Yeah, but the first half of that game, all he was doing was throwing quick outs and quick passes. He wasn't going over the middle at all. He wasn't throwing anything deep because he can't. And by the way, people are like, you hate Peyton Manning. All this stuff. Like, I really respect the guy. I don't think he has anything left physically. He's basically doing all of this with his brain. I think it's amazing.
It's incredible.
I'm pro what Peyton Manning's doing. I'm just frustrated when you bet against him or when your team's playing against him, and you're just like, oh my God! You turn into John Lovitz in the Michael Dukakis George Bush SNL sketch where you're like, how am I losing to this guy? You just can't figure it out. It's like he can only throw in 2 spots on the field. So it's just hard for me to believe that Belichick won't be able to figure out a way to take away the stuff that he does. And then at that point, Broncos are going to have to run the ball. Their defense is going to have to be awesome. They're going to have to hit the shit out of Gronk. And they're going to have to get a special teams play.
I think they are going to hit Gronk.
They're going to go after him.
They might get that touchdown from a special teams play or a defensive play. That they've done that against the Pats in the playoffs before. But I still think it's an offense that struggles in the red zone. There's no hiding that. There's no covering that up. When they get to the 20-yard line, they have a problem getting the ball in the end zone.
So the other fear for the Pats is that when they have the lead, because they basically tossed away the running game this year, I'm guessing. They didn't even worry about it in KC. I think they just tell their guys to pass block, and Brady's short passing is the running game. But that's bad when you're up 10 with 10 minutes left and you can't get first downs.
Well, look, if we're going to do the old in Belichick we trust, Steven Jackson, a little juvenation. Look, he looked pretty good. Was moving around pretty good.
I'm hoping. But, And then we didn't mention Gary Kubiak. So you always ultimately these games come down to the same factors every year. And a big one is QB and coach versus QB and coach. See, a Belichick versus Gary Kubiak. And you have Tom Brady, who just had another awesome season and who looked fantastic last week, against Peyton Manning, who got benched after he had 9 touchdowns and 17 interceptions midway through the season, and then came back because I guess they thought they needed his brain more than the Osweiler potential. As a Pats fan, I'd actually would be more scared of Osweiler, who's not healthy now. But I don't know. It just seems like we have advantages.
Less inclined to make the kinds of mistakes that Peyton was making. And by the way, Peyton has shown a little capacity for making some important mistakes at important moments in these playoff games.
There's that.
He has a certain propensity for that.
Did you think Denver's fans, they sounded super nervous second quarter, third quarter, right?
You know why? Because Pittsburgh was beating their ass. They were moving up and down the field.
And that's the thing. You think about that game. Pittsburgh had the ball twice over midfield, driving to go at least up 4. And that first time, the stupid offensive lineman gets the face mask penalty, knocks him back to midfield. Right. The second time, the 4-string running back fumbled. But
I know, Pierre Trudeau, Lassant.
But that's the thing. This is football. This is what the Patriots, the first 3 Super Bowls, the second team was basically wired like this. Every game was 3 points, 7 points, but they would make a couple plays and steal it. And you were like, I know this team's not that good, but every week they're winning.
Also slightly underrated for Pittsburgh. They had 2 different chances to kick field goals and elected not to.
I know. It was a bad Tom again.
The Pats aren't going to make that mistake. I like Gostkowski out in that thin air.
He's good for, first of all, Denver will not have a kickoff in this game. Every one of them will be in the end zone by Gostkowski. And anything 55 and in, he's making. I hope. Knock on wood. Oh, I'm not on wood.
Oh, boy.
But 55 and in. I'm going to rephrase. Anything 55 and in, he could make.
Well,
So if
you'll at least take the
fourth-
shot. You'll take
Yeah.
the shot. You're not punting from the 38-yard line.
Right. 38-yard line, he's coming out. We're kicking a 55-yarder.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think Denver has to get to 28 points to win.
27-23. That's my call.
Yeah, I think the Pats have to go either double figures or Denver's going to pull one out of their butthole. And you know what? I might not listen to Nance and Sims. I don't know if I can take it. I think I'm better off not listening to them.
What's the radio broadcast you could put on the radio?
I might just have my dad and I just do the broadcast, just talk, or just sit there in stony silence as Denver, as Manning's 3rd and 11 pass bounces over 17 helmets, hits Ed Hockley's right bicep and goes right to Emmanuel Sanders. Oh, I was going to defend Manning. I forgot to do this. He's missing a couple guys that have always been Peyton Manning staples.
Sure.
You know, he doesn't have the white tight end, that kind of clumsy white tight end who's somehow always open, bouncing off dudes. They don't really have that guy in this team.
The surest handed. It's always the surest handed guy he has available to him, too.
And he doesn't have the Brandon Stokely on this team.
Right.
He doesn't have that slot, that Amendola type, that guy, the guy who's just zigzagging across, getting open 4 or 5 yards. It actually feels like the pieces are mismatched for him on this team.
Sanders and Thomas keep putting balls on the ground. Keep putting catchable balls on the ground too.
Right. All right. So we're aligned. We're taking Carolina -3, and we're taking the Patriots -3. Sal had some good stats about road favorites in the AFC title game, which made me feel better too.
Oh, good.
I think they've won their last 4. Joe
Who
House.
did the Cuz take?
The Cuz likes the Pats.
All right, good.
Joe House, good luck with the snow. I hope you get to see these games. And
that makes 2 of us. Good luck to you and the Pats.
Yeah.
McSimmons from Sully's Bar.
We'll talk to you next week.
All right.
I want to talk about our buddies at Squarespace. They make it easy to build beautiful websites without breaking a sweat. You know you can trust in Squarespace for your website needs when millions of people and some of the most respected brands in the world trust in them too. House just launched a new Squarespace site called www.housefromdc.com. He's putting his pics up there. He's putting pictures of food, doing a whole bunch of things. And House is web illiterate. I mean, the fact that he could get that thing up is a miracle. But that's what Squarespace does. They make it easy for you to build beautiful websites, regardless of skill level. No coding needed. Easy to use tools, state-of-the-art technology. You get 24/7 online support and a beautiful website for only $8 a month. You get a free domain if you buy Squarespace for the year. So what are you waiting for? Start a trial with no credit card required. Start building your website today. And when you decide to sign up for Squarespace, make sure to use the offer code BS. That's my initials, easy to remember, BS, to get 10% off your first purchase. And it also shows support for the Bill Simmons podcast. So that's another good reason. Thanks to Squarespace for their support of the Bill Simmons podcast. 10% off your first purchase. Offer code BS. Squarespace, you should. Coming up now is an interview I did with Mike Shore, a short one right after Andy Greenwald did an interview with him, and we just decided, hey, screw it, we'll turn on the equipment, we'll talk some Pats for a little bit. So here that is. All right, we're taping this on a Wednesday night.
Right.
That's Mike Shore.
Hi.
He did the Andy Greenwald podcast on Channel 33. He's done a bunch of TV shows you've liked, Parks and Rec. You're involved in The Office.
That's correct.
Brooklyn 999999999.
Right.
And now you're doing something with Ted Danson. You're a TV hero.
That's right.
I like
and
that
and
you-
by the way, you're a TV hero. Don't put this all on me.
Oh, it's my favorite show of all time.
Yeah, it's
I
the
like
best
that
show.
you've reached a point that you're just like, I'm doing a TV show with my favorite person from when I was growing up, and it's going to happen.
Well, NBC, I mentioned this on Andy's podcast, but
I don't want to step on Andy's podcast.
NBC said you can. They offered me the chance to just do a show, 13 episodes. You don't have to like audition with a pilot.
Yeah.
And that gives you, that's a big weapon to use with actors because it's 13 paychecks basically. It feels like a real thing. And so the first thing I did was see if Ted Danson was available because I was like, he might actually go for this. And I knew that the CSI gig that he had was ending and stuff. So I just took a shot. And now Sam Malone, I'm going to write for Sam Malone.
So 82, 92. We're midway through decade 4 of Ted Danson on
That's
TV.
right.
It's
That's
amazing.
Right. Yeah. And
Nobody's
still
gone
strong.
4 decades like this.
Certainly no one's gone 4 decades with this many different characters. There's that thing about Michael Landon, where he did like 3 shows in 40 years. He did like Bonanza.
Great hair. It was
Little
all hair.
House.
He was all hair.
He was
overrated. Little war.
Why are you taking a shot at Michael Landon out of nowhere?
He can't defend himself. I don't want to step on the Indy pod. So
right.
You're also a diehard Pats fan like myself, and you're concerned. So do your whole theory on why I should be more concerned about this game than I am.
First of all, nothing good ever happens in Denver.
No, that's true. Denver and
Brady's
Miami
2-6 against Denver. Second of all, there's just too much of like a Peyton Manning narrative thing that's happening for my comfort of like he came back that, you know, like, by the way, Osweiler has there's 5 turnovers in that game. Very few of them are his fault. There's like 3
maybe
fumbles.
1. He threw the ball too hard on one of them.
That's right. Yeah. And then Peyton comes in, hands the ball off like 35 times in a row, and they win the game. And people are like, wow, Peyton's back. I mean,
some good audibles too.
He was 5 for 9 or something. It was nothing.
For 30 yards.
It's like the year that Flacco in the divisional game against the Pats was like 4 for 11 for 39 yards.
Yeah.
And they're like, wow, Flacco won a road playoff game. No, he didn't. Ray Rice ran 83 yards on the first play. But there's just a little too much of this, like the old gunslingers out there again. And that makes me nervous because he's playing at home. I knew the second that they lost to the Jets that they were also going to lose to Miami, and that they were going to have to go on the road to Denver. I saw the whole thing unfold.
Well, wait, you go back a little bit further though. You're like the Jennifer Love Hewitt show where she could see things.
Yes.
You saw all 4 losses.
This is absolutely true. I saw all 4 losses happening. I predicted they would lose to Denver the first time they went. It just felt like they were going to lose. The injuries were starting to mount up. I had a very strong feeling that Chip Kelly was going to beat Belichick. I don't know why. And then everything went wrong.
Did you have a strong feeling we were going to be up 14-0 and then have a rugby onside kick followed by 4 return touchdowns?
I just felt like it was a trap game. It was like every year there's one game where you're like, they're at home against this terrible team. And they always, and by the way, that's not just true of the Pats. It's true of every team. Yeah, every team in the NFL. Yeah. So, and then you're looking at those last 2 games. They're both on the road. The first game is the Jets with everything to play for. And I was like, there's no way the Jets are going to win this game. I knew they were going to win that game. And then as soon as the Jets won that game, I was like, it's over. And then against Miami, and in the days leading up to Miami, anyone who had a hangnail, they were like, he's out for this game. They made the decision very clearly to not tank the game, but basically say we would rather have Chandler Jones and Hightower and all those guys who were sort of banged up take the week off and get ready for the playoffs. We would rather do that than try to win this game.
And it seemed like in week 16 and 17, the mentality was, let's just try to steal this without actually jeopardizing anyone on our team.
That's right. And
I'm not against it. They almost stole the Jets game.
They almost stole both games, by the way. They came back at the beginning of the second half in Miami and tied the game, or went ahead maybe even, or at least tied the game. Like they had a chance in both games, but they just decided just didn't work. And as soon as that happened, I knew exactly what was going to happen, which was that they were going to win their opening playoff game. Denver was going to win theirs, and they were going to go to Denver. And now here we are. And I just can't. It's very hard for me to visualize them winning in Denver.
I wasn't really nervous until Ed Hockley became the referee for the Sunday game. And they're like, yeah, he's 45-0 in Denver games.
Well, there is, stats have proven there is a slight home field bias when it comes to calling plays. The like thing about Hockley is that he likes to hear himself talk on the mic, which means maybe more flags, which means maybe that bias comes into play. I don't know if I actually buy any of that. I just know that like most of the bad Patriots memories in big games are in Denver. Like many of them are. That Ben Watson game where Champ Bailey picked off Brady in the end zone, ran 102 yards, and Ben Watson ran like 170 yards and knocked the ball out. By the way, through the end zone for a touchback. We can all agree on that. No question. If there had been replay, that ball that's the Patriots ball at the 20.
I feel like they did replay that though, right? Wasn't there like a 10-minute delay as they figured out or maybe they were just pretending they had replay.
I don't
remember. There was a long delay.
Yeah, that sounds.
See, the
Rulon
right. Jones was worse for me.
That
one crushed me, and that was on the heels of like Buckner and Len Bias and
that's right. That's
all these bad things that happened, and then we're down 3. We have the ball. All Eason turtles, just classic Eason. And then all of a sudden it was like, well, we're down 5. This is over. Oh, my season's over. It was like it was all this stuff happened at once. Yeah. We're done.
I like by the way that after they've been in 6 Super Bowls since then and won 4 of them, and that memory is still exactly.
That's the Red Sox thing too, right?
Yeah. The Red Sox is gone for me. That I have no pain.
After
I have
the
no
third
pain.
World Series.
I have no pain about either team. I'm still annoyed at certain things about the Pats in the past, but nothing. It doesn't actually bother me. Like it's just like, oh, that was annoying.
The Easton part is more annoying. Yeah, isn't it funny? Like the Boone homer was almost like having a tumor, but then just having it removed and being fine after.
Yeah, it was doctor
like living with a
saying,
tumor
like,
for a year.
Yeah, it was like, that's exactly right. The doctor saying, I'm going to remove this, and it's going to be really bad, and then your life will get much better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because think about if we never won an 04 and nothing good happens, then Buckner and Boone combine into this one uber
Voltron
scar that just haunts us.
I mean,
now I don't think about it ever.
I don't know. I feel like you and I haven't talked about this that much, but I am just, all I feel is happiness all the time. It's just
great.
all I
Especially
feel.
the Red Sox.
Yeah, and it's like happiness and good fortune and a feeling of like, after, at some point Brady and Belichick are both going to leave in the next, let's say, 3 years, and I'll still watch the team, but it will actually be even easier to watch the
with
team.
the Pats?
Yeah, like don't you think it'll be like, well, now, like when they leave, if they go like 9-7 and sneak into the wild card, you'll be like, hey, look at that. Good work, guys. Like right now, the reason this is still tormenting me is because they're in this run where it's like it's gonna end, and you want everything. You just want more. You're greedy. It's like the way I remember talking to my father-in-law about the Yankees. He was a big Yankees fan, and he was just like, after they won in 09, which was Jeter's 5th ring, he was like, just one more. Just one more. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. You can't. He's won 5 rings. But like, now I understand it, because now it's like you just feel like you want, as long as this can go on, you want it to go on.
Ours is a little deeper because they ran an orchestrated smear campaign against our quarterback and took our first round pick.
That's true.
While being unable to understand ideal gas law.
By the way, what's your prediction? Do you ever see that data that they've supposedly collected?
There's no way.
There's no way, right? Because it's
no
just a
else.
law of physics or chemistry, whatever you want to call it. And the information that they collected, if they collected it honestly, just shows what the laws of nature will show. And the only way they ever release it is if somehow it proves their guilt, which it can't, because there's no way that the air, it's just a law of physics. It's like they're trying to prove that gravity doesn't work. So I think you never see that data. And if you do, the data that they show is going to be data that they collected in like Miami and Atlanta when the playing temperature was 68 and the locker room was 72. And they're like, look at this. It's, the ideal gas law is made up.
It reminds me of the OJ trial, when it was like the DNA, and there's 99 million to 1 chance it's not his DNA, and some people are like, well, blood, who knows? And then after 200 CSI episodes, you look back and you go, oh my God, that was his blood.
Yeah.
That's how I feel. At some point we'll get to with the ideal gas law, where they'll be like, oh yeah, it was cold in the game and the balls deflated a little.
I got so worked up about it.
I know
really
you
did.
and I were in a race for who was more worked up on Twitter.
And I like now all I feel is like just I don't care. And I it's not that I actually don't care. It's that like there's so many other things to be so upset about the NFL about. You know what I mean? Like the NFL has way bigger problems than this. And I think that I'm causing the problem by focusing on this dumb thing.
Makes sense.
And so
if we had lost in February, we would have blamed Deflategate for distracting us, and we would have been haunted by it forever.
Yeah, because we still, for some reason, have a persecution complex after like 9 titles in the last 13 years.
And then, like, if you're a Vikings fan, you're listening to this going, I want to run both of these guys over in a car.
Yeah, well, that's certainly part of it. Part of it is just like how lucky we are as fans.
Super lucky.
But then the other part of it is I
Look,
believe
Andy's listening to us right now. He's just tortured.
You're feeling it.
I know. He's mad. Our worst memory is Tony Eason and kicking off to Desmond Howard and Sugarberry Hamilton.
I was friends with a guy who was a writer at SNL who was a Yankee fan, and after the Boone home run, he wrote me this long email that talked about like he knew how I felt. He was genuinely sorry. He's like,
he didn't know how you felt.
He said, I know how you feel because I remember when it was literally like Billy Martin pinch hit for Bob Horner in some game in 1977. And I was like, how is that the thing? Yeah. Like, that's the worst thing that's ever happened to you as a Yankee fan, is something no one's ever heard of that didn't matter.
Well, what was interesting about the Boone homer and the Buckner Schiraldi disaster was both times it was like a slow motion car accident.
Yeah.
And the Pedro Grady thing, which it's just been Grady that whole year.
Yeah.
Just knowing just that he was off, and then it finally manifested itself
in the worst possible time.
Yeah, but you could feel it coming.
But again, the only thing to say about this is that like all of that, no one will ever have that feeling that we had again. The only people who will have anything close to that feeling is when the Cubs finally win the series, which I believe will be either this year or next year. When the Cubs fans who have been fans all their whole lives will experience something close to what we got to experience.
But don't you feel like the Cubs fans, like we were more
close.
optimistic?
That's right. Well,
the Red Sox fans would always talk themselves back into it. The Cubs fans seem like they've just given up.
Well, they haven't. I mean,
they don't even conceive it.
They had made the World Series several times and lost in 7 games. So we had been better as an organization, gotten closer, and lost in more spectacular fashion. So what the Cubs fans will feel isn't exactly the same, but it's in the ballpark of the same. But other than that, no one else will ever. I mean, you'll have to wait 100 more years for anybody to feel as good as we felt that year. And then also, by the way, there's 4 other Super Bowls and 2 other World Series titles and an NBA title and a Stanley Cup to just throw in there for good measure. So like all of this stuff is so secondary.
Greenwald,
he's literally pointing a finger gun at his forehead.
We got to clean Greenwald's body up. I think when Cubs fans win, this is a dated reference, but you'll get it. Travolta and the boy in the plastic bubble at the end, which is on YouTube, which is a great
Bill,
last 5 minutes.
That's not a dated reference. That's very
it's
relevant.
Only 40 years
very
old.
Topical.
But when he gets out of the bubble and he's just looking around and there's trees, that's how the Cubs fans are going to feel. Like it'll be like they've entered this new universe. Like, oh my God, the blue sky. And there's trees.
But that, I see, to me, Cubs fans I think will be more joyous than that.
That's what but he was joyous.
Was he? I haven't seen that movie.
It's like, this movie's over. My contract's up. I get to do Saturday Night Fever now.
I imagine it being like that video that you can watch on YouTube of the celebration in New Orleans when the Saints won. That's just like pure happiness.
Oh yeah, that's a great one. Underrated. The Saints Super Bowl is underrated. Super Bowl, just
and
pure euphoria.
Yeah, and that's maybe a better analogy because the Saints were so miserable and embarrassing for so long. And
it's certainly a more current analogy
than the boy in the bubble.
The boy in the plastic bubble. By the way, definitely watch that on YouTube. Anyone who's listening, if you want just a great 70s experience, Travolta with long hair. So you think the Patriots are going to lose?
I very much hope that they win, but
You're
maybe
worried.
It's just because I'm very worried. I'm very worried. Yeah,
I'm worried about 15 of the 17 calls that are crucial to the game going against us. Manning having his typical 2 guys drop the interception that somehow goes to Demaryius Thomas, who's running full speed.
Yeah.
Terrible special teams play.
In Denver last week, Peyton Manning threw himself to the ground. They didn't call.
He dove.
He literally.
He self-sacked himself.
He jumped to the ground and then looked around.
It was a slide.
It was a slide. Then he looked around and no one said anything. So we kind of got back up. In my mind, it took about 45 seconds. He got back to his feet.
The whole Pittsburgh team stops.
Looked around. The refs were like, go ahead.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Okay. Go ahead, Peyton.
And he was like,
you
really?
can do it.
And he was like, yeah, go ahead. And he was like, okay. And he looked around and he saw an open receiver and threw it, hit him for 36 yards. That was a key play in the game. And that is, if you believe in such things as home field confirmation bias, that's what you would
So
cite.
Here's the thing. If somebody comes flying in, Andy, admit this. One of the Steelers, Peyton goes into the self slide.
Right.
A Steeler linebacker comes running in and tackles him.
Yeah.
It's a 15-yard penalty.
That's right. But all that Steeler linebacker has to do is touch him with his index finger and he's down. Right. So if he jumps on him, don't jump on him. Just touch him with your hand. Just touch his shoulder.
But if he hadn't given himself up and he's just on the ground, why can't he be tackled?
He could be, but he's a quarterback.
Refs would have caught. So basically, Manning's a genius. he figured out the one loophole where it's like, if I slide, nobody can touch me. It was his only good play of the game.
Yeah. Well, the real thing to say about the NFL, and this is something that is I think their biggest problem, is they themselves don't know the rules. They just don't. They say they do.
Out of bounds, end zone, anything.
But I've been hammering this for weeks. Mike Carey has never. When they go to Mike Carey, anything he says. It's like the Seinfeld episode where George does the opposite of what his instinct is. Whatever Mike Carey says, the opposite is true.
And Phil Simms agrees with him to compound it.
But also Jim Nantz has to. It's like they wake him up from a deep sleep every time. He's like, "Whoa, what's happening? What?" And then Jim Nantz has to like hold him by the hand and walk him slowly through what's happened. And Jim Nantz, it's like the most leading the witness thing ever. Jim Nantz will be like, Mike, don't you think that maybe in this case, based on what the rule says, the what should be called here is this? And Mike Carey will go like, no, I don't. And it's like, dummy, listen to what he's telling you with the right answer. And then he gives the other answer, and then Jim Nantz's call was right. It's insane. But that Ryan Shazier hit in that game, in the Bengals game, that's the definition of the rule. He launched himself towards the runner and hit him with the crown of his helmet. And then they were like, well, here's the deal. He was a runner. He's no longer a receiver. What are any of them talking about?
I think Nantz was ready. I think Nantz has been miserable all season. I think he's trapped with Phil Simms, who says nothing.
Jim Nantz's
I think he hates the violence. He's repulsed by the violence. Like the Cincinnati game really resonated with him in a way that Jim Nantz didn't. He just didn't want to be part of it. He just wants to get to the Butler cabin. That's all. He's just in his head. He's like, I'm going to quit. No, we'll take the Masters from you.
In the way that Superman derives power from the sun, he derives power from Augusta. So
that's true. He's trying to get there.
His distance from Augusta in time is how weak or strong he feels. So like when it's, I guess, whatever, April, it's like October. When it's October, it's like he's the lowest energy, and then he slowly gets closer to like Amen Corner.
The Shazier hit, like they're peeling the guy off the turf, and Nantz is just spending some Butler cabin, Billy Payne, Butler cabin, jacket, Phil.
Yeah. Phil on 18.
I might be in the jacket. It's all good. It's all good. I got Phil Simms drooling next to me who doesn't know where he is. Yeah, Mike Carey is like an SNL sketch.
Yeah.
It's like the sequel to Judge Pittman. What was it, Referee Pittman?
Referee Pittman, yeah. But it's also, I feel bad for him in a certain way because no one knows the rules. They don't, the guys on the field don't know the rules. They think they know how to interpret them maybe, but it's like, it's too Byzantine. And they need to just make it flag football, and then everything will be fine.
It's where we're headed, unless they can fix the helmets or something.
I don't know.
These guys, you can't tell these guys to change how they learned how to play.
Right.
They're supposed to run fast and hit people.
But also the fandom, like I heard Dan Le Batard debating this in his show the other day. It's like, what would it take? The game is unstoppable. What would it take for? And like the premise was like, if someone died in a game, and he was like, yeah, that wouldn't do it. Like you would wait, like if a player died in a game, the next week you would still watch the games. And like, either way, I've gone through this a little bit myself where like I got so fed up with the domestic violence stuff that I canceled my Sunday ticket package.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And so but like, I was like, I'm done. I'm not going to directly give the league this amount of money.
I'm not doing that. I'm not buying your pink jersey in October.
That's right. I wanted to buy my son a NFL licensed product for Christmas, and I didn't because I didn't want to give the league money.
Yeah.
But by the way, then like the games are on Sunday night, I still watch them. And like I'm going through this weird contorted justification where I'm like, well, I'm already paying for NBC, right? I'm paying for that's not and it's like it's just a crazy rationalization.
Yeah.
Because I love the game. It's so fun to watch.
Yeah, I like football. I like boxing. Do
you like boxing?
I like MMA. I figured out how to compartmentalize everything.
I can't take.
I'm just
boxing.
a bad person. So I think the Pats are going to win. So hopefully, give me
your prediction for both games and then the Super
I think
Bowl.
They have to win handily.
Like what is handily? Like
16? If we're in the fourth quarter and it's like 3 points and Simms is just muttering about something and Nantz is getting more and more excited, that's when I'm nervous. In the league.
What Simms and Nantz are doing?
I don't know.
Nervous?
Because they root for Manning. Nantz and Manning have the same agent.
Yeah, Nantz loves Peyton Manning above all of it. When he was handing the ball to C.J. Anderson and the Broncos started winning, there was a lot of talk from Jim Nantz about how amazing Peyton Manning was.
Great audibles, good handoffs. I mean, Fred Couples, when Fred Couples won the Masters.
Sure.
Nantz literally almost self-combusted. Like he almost had an explosion.
Yeah.
I don't think he loves Manning that much, but it's like 70%
when that HGH Al Jazeera story came out.
Not on CBS.
Yeah, how dare you besmirch the good name of Peyton Manning? It's like, you're not even to mention. It's just like, whatever. I mean...
Meanwhile, you've got Collinsworth. We're on the game-winning drive in the Super Bowl, and he's like, I told Tom, look at my eye, tell me if you're guilty. It's like, can I watch my team try to win the Super Bowl and not think about your media contrived thing?
Again, there's a certain amount of persecution complex coming into play here, I would say. I'll speak for myself, but...
Speak for me too.
I do feel like everyone made the biggest deal in the world about Deflategate, and that HGH thing just came and went, man. Like,
it was because of Al Jazeera.
It's because
if it had been like Yahoo, it would still be going.
Yeah, I agree. And like, by the way, I'll go on record. I couldn't care less if that guy took HGH. Who cares?
I don't
care.
No
one cares. I wish he had. I wish he had come out and said like, yeah, I had 4 neck surgeries and I took a small amount of a drug that most people consider to be not that big a deal when it's administered properly, and it helped me get back on the field. And I recommend other people do the same.
I take it right now. If you had it right now, I'd pop 7 of them.
It would have at least kickstarted a debate about. And by the way, isn't it true that the league wasn't even, they weren't testing for it then?
No, he might not have even been on a team the next year.
Yeah, I don't
Here's
care.
the thing. Look around. Watch the game in HD this weekend and tell me that everyone's on a level playing field.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure there's a couple things going on. How about Roethlisberger last week?
My God. I mean, what did they shoot?
He basically said like, yeah, I couldn't feel my shoulder. It was great.
Well, also they announced
What?
it as a
You couldn't
separation.
feel your shoulder?
His throwing shoulder had separated.
He couldn't feel it.
Yeah.
It's fine though.
Yeah.
I can't feel it, but they told me it's fine.
There's a certain amount of like Pittsburgh and Cincinnati have that thing. That's why the game was so chippy, where it's just about who's more macho. It's Kianis más macho.
Yeah, it's like
it's another dated
it's
reference.
like Southie versus Everett or something. It's just, it's not about football. It's
but it's
territory.
It makes me queasy, man. And I mean, if I were a better person, I wouldn't be watching the games, but I am.
Well, after that uplifting
so give me your prediction.
preview,
Give me your prediction. What do you got?
I think the Pats win in double figures, or they lose. I don't think they win by 4 to 7.
You heard it here twice.
Well, I think
in 2 different
it's
ways.
either 10 plus or they lose. If it's close
So
in the fourth quarter,
just
something
make
bad.
your prediction to see what
I
you
think
is
they're
gonna
much
happen.
better, and I think Manning is smoke and mirrors, and Belichick will be able to figure out how to take him out. And also, like, if Manning goes to the next round against like Carolina, that could make the
really
Seattle
bad.
Super Bowl look like child's play.
I agree. I think if your job as an omniscient being were to look after Peyton Manning's health and safety, you would have him lose this week, because I think either of those 2 defenses in the NFC it'll be ugly.
Also, America, what's more fun than Brady and Belichick on the podium with Goodell after this Deflategate thing?
That's
Name
true.
me what in Kraft, who lost his first round pick.
I'll say this too: no one. This isn't going to work because everyone hates the Patriots, and that's totally fine. And
Not
I get
everyone,
it. You're
but
allowed to.
almost
But
everyone.
America in general, if you have no rooting interest, you should be rooting for the Patriots to make the Super Bowl, because they've been in 6 in this era and they've all been good. They've all been really
that's
close
true.
games.
6-0.
They're 6-0 in terms of good games.
Yeah.
There's never been a boring one. Their 3 victories before last year were 3-point victories on field goals in the fourth quarter.
Janet Jackson's nipple, Donovan
right.
McNabb throwing up in the huddle.
That's right.
You too, beautiful day.
Last year,
sorry, Greenwald.
Last year, an interception at the 1.
Yeah, that's the best
and the
Super
2
Bowl ever.
losses are the Tyree game and then the Mario Manningham catch down the
We're
sideline.
6 for 6.
Yeah, they're good games. They play really good games.
Eagles game wasn't that great.
It
Although
was okay.
it was
It
more
was 3
sad
points.
and funny. The Eagles fans all quit in the second
By the
quarter.
way, Andy Reid, I'm directing this now
Andy,
directly
you're
to
right
Andy.
there. I forgot.
Andy Reid still doing the same
I know.
thing.
He hasn't.
Years later.
Greenwald knows.
That's right.
He knows. All right, Mike Scher. Good luck to both of us.
Yes, good luck.
Thanks for stopping on and listen to the entire Mike and Andy interview on the Channel 33 pod. All right, we have some bonus content. Wesley Morris and I went so long the other day that we actually carved some stuff out for the end of this podcast. But before we do that, we have a new season of Real Sports launching on January 26th. I say we because I work for HBO now. You don't need cable or satellite to watch HBO anymore. Just download the HBO Now app. Start your free 1-month trial. At some point in 2016, who knows? You might be able to watch this podcast on HBO Now. Oh, yeah. You can see me in my MeUndies jogging pants with my glasses on, pretending to listen to my guests as I check my fantasy teams. You'll see it. You'll see all the warts. This world could actually exist. You never know. Do yourself a favor. Download the HBO Now app right now. You can watch Real Sports, and you got Game of Thrones coming in 3 months. No brainer. All right, let's get to it. Wesley Morris talking about a whole bunch of stuff that Odell Beckham, Rajon Rondo, Bill Kennedy. Here we go. All right, Wesley Morris is in town, my old Grantland colleague who is now at the New York Times. And we taped the whole podcast that was on the BS podcast earlier in the week. Wanted to talk about one thing, sports related.
Yeah.
To throw on at the end of this, because some stuff happened and you and I were talking off podcast about it, but I did want to talk about it on podcast. 2 things that happened pretty close to each other.
Mm-hmm. Weirdly close to each other.
Yeah. The first one was Rajon Rondo and Bill Kennedy.
Yes.
And then the second one was Odell Beckham, which 3 people that you might not think have a lot in common, and they might not. But the Rondo Bill Kennedy thing happens, bunch of gay slurs. The league suspends him a few days after.
Yes.
For language abusive to a referee or something. Then Bill Kennedy comes out, says, I'm gay.
Right.
Now it turns out one of the reasons he did that was because of this whole incident, but it wasn't a gay bashing, but Rondo didn't know, but he might not have. But so it's this whole context of this whole incident that happens where you have to go into it and you say either Rondo knew or Rondo didn't know. And if Rondo knew and he berated this guy in a basketball court with 15,000 people there and repeatedly called him the F-bomb, this is the exact same situation as Isaiah Washington and T.R. Knight in Grey's Anatomy in front of a crew of 50 people. And Isaiah Washington basically never acted again and was blackballed in Hollywood and had to go counseling and all this stuff.
Right.
This happens with Rondo. He's suspended a game. The catch is, did he know, did he not know? But
it doesn't matter.
It's
right?
8 years later.
Right.
You would think it would actually be worse for Rondo, and it wasn't. So why?
Well, there are gay people in Hollywood, for one thing. I mean, you don't see a lot of them in front of the camera, but I mean, they're there.
Yep.
And the thing about Kennedy, I mean, Kennedy, as far as I understand, was not in the closet. I mean, he was an openly gay person, but he wasn't openly gay to everybody. I mean, he was out in the way that he needed to be out.
Right.
And I think that Hollywood is a somewhat similar situation. And I think that also the difference is that it was Rajon Rondo versus, I'm trying
Isaiah
to
Washington.
If God forbid, if Denzel Washington went on a tirade like that on the set of some movie against, I don't know who.
That's a bigger deal.
It's a bigger deal, but he continues to work.
He did it in Philadelphia in the grocery store, but that was
for a movie, and it was in the service of what I think is his best performance. By the way.
Oh
yes.
Okay.
We can talk about that later, but I
love Philadelphia.
That's his best performance.
That was during the Jonathan Demme run of every scene I shoot, my camera is just right in the face of the person.
Yes.
And then I cut to another shot of the other person they're talking to, and the camera's right in their face. It actually worked for like 3 movies.
People got tired of that device, and I think the same thing was true with Spike Lee in the dolly shot, which he'll always use. But anyway, I think that it's different if someone like in Hollywood, if someone like Denzel does it. I also think that maybe it's not different because Mel Gibson. I mean, I don't know if Mel Gibson were at the height of if he had gone on that rant during at the height of his power, at the height of his, during the Lethal Weapon days or something.
Yeah.
I wonder what the effect on his career, I wonder how that would have affected his career. But at the point at which he had done it in, 2004 or 5 or 6 or whenever that rant was, I think he was sort of past his prime anyway. And so it was a lot easier to discard him.
Are you talking about Rondo?
And I'm talking about Mel Gibson.
No, I was kidding.
Oh, wow. Ding, ding,
Come
ding.
on.
But I think that, the league is, so here's the other thing. I mean, I think there's a lot of institutionalized homophobia in sports generally, and with respect to different leagues, no matter what you say or do about publicly combating homophobia. And I think Adam Silver has done a pretty good job in terms of coming down in these incidents in delivering some sort of fair and just punishment. I think that, as we've kind of talked about, I mean, he was in a bit of a tricky situation with the Bill Kennedy thing because
it was more than tricky, because if he suspended Rondo based on Bill Kennedy being gay, everybody would have been
why is the suspension so serious? Right. But I mean, I know that this is sort of parsing a little bit, but I think that outing is tricky because he was out, right?
Just nobody had said.
It's just it was his business.
I knew he was gay.
It's the classic thing where this is where we are with sexuality now. Yeah. It's not ask, don't tell. If you ask me, I'll tell you, but I'm not going to tell you because I have to. He didn't have to say anything about his sexuality. What difference does it make? And so this is the point at which Rondo's relationship to his knowledge of Kennedy's sexuality somewhat does matter, correct? It wasn't, I can't say what Rondo did or didn't know, but I would say contextually, it's likely that people in the league kind of know they know who's gay.
Well, especially with the Celtics, because he had a whole incident with Doc Rivers and Kennedy, and he was on that team. But that's contested,
right? I mean, that's still in dispute, is it not? I mean, Doc Rivers himself has disputed it.
What else is he gonna do?
Well, oh, that's fair. That's fair. I mean, it's true.
I just knew from like 2009 on. That was always the story I heard. And if I knew it living in Los Angeles, 3,000 miles away, right, I'm going to guess that there's a really good chance Rondo knew being on that team.
That's fair. I also would say that one of the problems is that the infrastructure of these sports leagues reinforces a kind of a homophobia where there's a lot of glass closets. There's a lot of people who don't feel comfortable being as openly gay as like I was at Grantland, for instance, or like exactly. I chose to tell you, but it's my business. You know, it's my business to share with
your choice.
Other people. I mean, in the same way that like I shouldn't, but I'm also not like choosing to disclose to you. I've never said to you, Bill, I'm gay. Like it just isn't something. That's not how coming out really works now.
Unless it's on MTV.
Right, but then we're going to MTV. And
that's every Real World season,
having a show in which But the thing about the Real World was nobody ever came out on the Real World. They all got their gay.
Well, no, that's not technically true because the part of the first episode there were a bunch of beats in the first episode. One of which was
Norman.
No, just any season. It was always about 2/3 in. Whoever the gay person was had to pull something and be like, "Hey, man, I got to tell you something." They always had that moment in there.
Yes, but he was gay to himself.
Oh yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It wasn't like he before he got to the show he was gay.
Right.
I think that the thing about the way the closet works in sports now, and in the way it works, the way coming out or being out or having a sexual identity works is it's not a public thing anymore. I think people are now expecting there to be some big press conference where some big athlete just says, "Hey y'all, I'm gay." I don't think that's ever really going to happen because first of all, it's not necessary. I think the thing that is more important is unless this person is willing to be, and it has to be like a huge star, and it has to be somebody who is willing to sort of spend a significant portion of his or her life talking about this and only this.
Or it could go the other way, and it could be a situation like almost like what happened with Rodman. Although he was not gay, but he was
interesting.
He was experimenting.
Right?
He didn't care what people thought.
Right.
He just went and did his thing, and he was flamboyant and just kind of a personality. And it's just he didn't care. There was a mystery to him. But maybe that's how this would go with somebody.
But Rodman was intimidating for that reason. What I'm talking about is the alternative to a person holding a press conference and saying, "Hello world, I'm a homosexual." The alternative to that is you are living your life the way you normally would live it. You go to practice, you go to the games, you do a good job, and you go on with the rest of your business for the rest of the day or the week or the month of the year. Your teammates know your situation. Whether or not they like it that's their problem. And obviously, and this brings us kind of to Odell Beckham, they can make it your problem. Do you know what I mean? They can make your life difficult whether or not you're gay, just to be suspected of or to be accused of it is an additional psychological burden. And I understand. I mean, I think for a while the question was, why don't these athletes come out? Like, why aren't they coming out? The reason is it sucks.
Yeah.
Can you imagine being in a place where like it only takes one guy to make your life a living hell? I mean, and hopefully what the alternative to that guy making your life a living hell is some other guy is like, shut up, man. Respect this guy's situation. Like, we don't care. He does a good job on the field, on the court, wherever. I think like the thing that Michael Sam talked about when he came out, which was that the entire team knew about his sexuality, and they the claim was that they supported him.
Yeah.
I think that the idea that if someone came out, and it's so funny because I'm tempted to like say all these names, but like if a person came out, like what kind of support would that person be guaranteed to have if they came out in a way more than they already are out? You know, I mean, there are people on teams where the teammates presumably know the person is gay and they respect it, but I don't think the teams from the locker rooms to the front offices want to deal with the sort of national spectacle that comes to their team. This is what was so interesting to me about the idea that there was going to be this like group coming out, like a bunch of guys are going to come out at the same time.
2 Christmases ago, yeah.
I mean, it does sort of diffuse the attention, you know, like it makes it more, it like what I'm saying, it distributes the attention, not diffuses
Can we wait a
it.
second though? Can we go back to the Women's World Cup when Abby Wambach kissed her wife?
Right.
After the game that like 28 million people watched, nobody gave a shit.
It's women though. Like women aren't homophobic in the way that men are homophobic. Like
So,
they,
but- all right, so
like
the
the
football-
structure, the institutional structure of the male sports world is just much more comfortable with homophobia than it is with homosexuality.
Well, remember 30 years ago when Martina was winning Wimbledons and they would cut to like whoever her girlfriend was in the box and the announcer would be like, there's her good friend, Vanessa. They're very, very good friends. And she's very happy to have. But now they're a little more open. But with the men, though, like with Beckham, it's clear that there was some form of gay bashing with Beckham, who's might be gay, might not be.
Some form.
Yeah.
It was like, it
There's
was
a
gay
bat at one point.
It was
but
crazy.
Trying to get in his head either because he's gay or because they're just trying to get in his head by calling him gay.
Well,
It was
because
one or the other.
Because I mean, I think like setting aside his actual sexual orientation, I mean, there were videos and rumors, and I don't know.
Videos of him dancing, who
Right.
knows? But it might be like a Rodman thing. He might just be
Well, either way, like Rodman didn't get treated like that.
no.
You know, and the thing that offends me with the Beckham situation is the league didn't do anything.
Well, of course not.
Well, obviously,
Come on.
yes. But I mean, look, you have a whole team or like enough of a team saying, you know, gay slurs to one guy. Like,
And there was a menacing aspect to it.
the whole energy, the energy of the whole game was weird.
But here's the thing, though, and this is why I want to bring this up. These are 2 incidents. The Beckham thing was pretty self-contained to New York media. It was a football story a little bit in a mainstream way, and then in the gay blog community, like the guy in Out wrote a big piece about
Right.
it, Sid Ziegler.
Right.
So that was there, but it wasn't really, and then it kind of came and went. Rondo Kennedy came and went. We're in the outrage society where everybody gets, this is the kind of thing people seize onto and go crazy about until we get justice. And it didn't happen here, which I thought was strange.
I will say 2 things about that. I won't forget that Rondo did that.
I won't either.
And I won't.
I can't believe he did that.
I don't know what. I mean, I think that I don't think the people who know Rondo did that and have a problem with Rondo's having done it will forget that it happened. I think I personally, I mean, I feel like everybody's got a really tortured relationship with the NFL. I know you do.
Yes.
I feel like this for me further complicates any pleasure I get out of watching football.
It's add this to the list of
It
17
is like
other
if the
things.
Panthers go to the Super Bowl, I don't know how it's gonna. I mean, whatever. I'll watch the Super Bowl, obviously, but it's just it just makes it a little bit less fun knowing that you have proof that people don't like an aspect of you.
Yeah.
And that they think that it's okay to use that to get in your head. And look, there's a lot of smack talk. There's a lot of, you know, sort of disrespectful play in sports and that sort of thing. But there's a limit. There's a limit. Like even like certain kinds of your mama cracks. Like you can't take that but so seriously. But what we're talking
Or
about
if you call
now,
somebody an MFer. I mean, that's like, you know,
Yeah.
that when you really break down that word, that's not a
yes,
nice word.
But nobody. It takes an enlightened person with a very thin skin to let that bother you.
True.
But calling somebody an MFer faggot, do you know what I mean? Like a motherfucking faggot, that's a different thing.
Right.
And to like keep saying it and to like have an entire, like have a team sort of campaign
like this is how we're getting in this guy's head.
Right. Like to wage an entire campaign against your psychology for a game. And the thing that bugs me by that whole offends me is that there was only one person who got punished for that incident.
Right.
You know, and the Giants didn't say anything. I mean, at least as far as I know, the Giants said nothing about the conduct of the Panthers in that game.
Yeah.
And the league said nothing about the Panthers' conduct.
It's hard to believe the 70-year-old Giants coach didn't.
But what he said instead was, it's all fine. It's okay. Don't worry. It's good.
So it's almost like real life.
Right. I mean,
the 7-year-old dad, like, no, he's fine. He's fine. He's between girlfriends.
My big manly son is totally fine. Don't you worry about that.
He's fine.
Yeah. Rihanna. Yeah. It's just, I don't know. It really bothers me. I don't know.
So we took a step back from the whole Jason Collins, Michael Sam. Hey, we're making some momentum, and it really feels like we took a step back in the end of 2015.
Bill, it's all lip service.
Yeah,
it's all lip service at this point. I feel like I am not one of the people who needs a gay athlete to come out and say, to even like sort of acknowledge his gayness in a public way, because they're in the league. Yeah. Like, we know that
it's a really tough decision to make.
It's a hard decision. Like, what you're giving up. You're giving everything up. This is the thing that moved me about Bill Kennedy.
Yeah.
And his not even coming out, but it's just being like, dude, I've always been gay.
Yeah.
Like, shocker. It was basically what that statement was. But what he also said was, listen, basically what he said was, listen, this is not easy. And every athlete of any gender should have the freedom to be who they are and not be persecuted for it by their teammates, peers, bosses, coworkers, whatever. And I think that goes for the entire sports apparatus. Whether you sit in an office or like you sell hot dogs or whatever, you should be able to be the person you are and not be shamed for it. Especially in a context where it doesn't even matter. Like, the thing about Kennedy to me that's so moving is, like, we shouldn't even know who Bill Kennedy is.
Right.
You know? We shouldn't know at all. It's how he does his job, is anonymously, pretty much. Although he is a pretty spectacular to watch referee. I just feel like he really is sort of taking a hit. And
I didn't know how to follow that comment up, so I just kind of stared at you.
What about Kennedy?
Where you were saying spectacular to watch referee, and I'm like, because
I like his referee
demeanor,
style.
Or you like his style?
His style as a referee is noticeable.
Yes, I would agree.
You do notice that. I'm glad you asked for a follow up. If you were bothered by that,
well, I've always I wasn't bothered.
I mean, like, if you notice it, I thank you for.
I always noticed him because he was ripped and his shirts never quite fit.
Yes,
and
he's also very fit.
Normally the refs are either old guys or they're a little doughy, or there's a couple in shape ones, and he's the one that's like, wow, that guy must go home and just power lift.
Right. He and Ed Hockley.
He was the Ed Hockley of the NBA.
Yeah, I don't know. This is a perennially tough situation for me, because so many things would have to change in order for it to be worth it for a guy. Or, I mean, basically we're talking about men at this point.
Well, we're in the same spot that we're in a couple years ago. When it happens, it's going to be because it wasn't the person's choice.
Right.
I think is where we're headed.
But
it'll be a big star, but it will happen for a reason that wasn't up to him.
But what's interesting to me is there are so many almosts out there, basically. Yeah. And I feel like not only in the athlete's interest, it's in the sport, it's in the team's interest and in the respective league's interest to make these things go away however they can.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I've never heard of a story of a relationship fixer, although coming to USA this fall, you know, Rosario Dawson is like the beard, you know, like she's the woman who procures the girlfriends for these guys on these teams.
Yeah.
So they don't seem gay. This is the missed opportunity on Ballers, by the way.
Is that a real show?
It should be. You and Sal do that thing, right?
That's on Hulu?
Rosario Dawson is the beard.
Omar Epps is back.
Right.
It's aging quarterback.
Should he come out of the closet?
He's 38. What does he have to lose?
Right. Not before he gets his beard.
The beard.
Right. And it'd be like a beard of the week. You get some very famous actress like Jennifer Lawrence makes an appearance as a beard on the show. I mean, it could really...
Entourage with, yeah.
Right. I mean...
Would you call it growing a beard?
Growing a beard. I don't know.
Finding a beard? Building a beard?
Some podcast listener is going to have I think the beard. Beards. A little weird. Nah, the beard. I think you had it right. Yeah, the beard.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think it's an agency run by the league. We'll just say the NFL. The NFL's got like the Olivia Pope of, sports scandals.
I got scared when you started saying that name.
Why? Olivia Pope?
I didn't know where you were going.
No, they've got the Olivia Pope of sports scandals.
Yeah. Okay.
And they basically, her job is to find women for these men who are on the verge of being outed.
This feels like a USA show.
I just said USA.
I think you're right.
It does feel like a USA show.
Right.
But Ballers.
Everything is light and happy, and it's set in Miami.
Right.
There's a lot of scenes of people walking in the beach being like, guys, Out Magazine said they're going to write this. There's a lot of scenes like that, but
we got to get
there's water.
Kerry Washington. We got to get Rosario Dawson on the phone right now. And she comes in and is like, what's the problem?
I think because Rosario's involved, we could get Chris Rock to EP because they're dating. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
They're dating.
How could I not have known that?
You didn't know Chris Rock and Rosario Dawson were dating?
No. They've never, I mean,
no, they're out.
Not to be that person.
They came out as a couple.
I've never seen them out together. I've seen them out
we have to
without
go
each other.
I have to leave.
All right, let's go.
All right. Thanks, Wesley Morris. That was fun.
Thank you. That was fun.
Thanks to HBO Now for sponsoring today's podcast. You don't need cable or satellite to watch HBO anymore. Just download the HBO Now app. Start your free 1-month trial today. Thanks to Squarespace for helping Joe House build his website. Thanks to MeUndies for sending me those French Terry jogging pants that I never take off. Thanks to SeatGeek, the presenting sponsor of the Bill Simmons podcast and Channel 33. Subscribe to both podcasts on iTunes, Stitcher, and SoundCloud. And thanks to you guys, because I think we're at 55 episodes now. This is great. If you want to help us out, definitely write some comments on iTunes. We like seeing your feedback on stuff. We don't really have another comment mechanism. And subscribe. We like subscribers. Subscribers are good. Subscribers make us happy. You know what else will make me happy? A Patriots win. Go Pats. Enjoy the weekend. And stay safe, everyone on the East Coast.
We about this bitch. Anytime y'all want to see me again, rewind this track right here, close your eyes, and picture me rolling.